My topic is the ongoing democratic revolution in Bulgaria, the people versus the corrupt system of government. I am a professor in philosophy of law and national security at St.Cyril and St. Methodius University of Veliko, Tarnovo, Bulgaria. The overview of my presentation will cover the Bulgarian protests 2020-2021, the situation with three elections in Bulgaria, the protest parties in dead end, and I will talk about another political project which is starting now. So on July the 9th, 2020, the President of Bulgaria, Rumen Radev, with a raised fist and the slogan "Mutrior Mafia out," led the democratic revolution against the 10-year rule of Boyko Borisov. Mass protests began, which in the elections of 4th of April 2021, for the first time took away the majority of his party. How can this outburst of discontent be explained? The reasons are cumulative in the 3 decades of transition to a capitalist market economy. The countries in transition in Eastern Europe were forcibly blocked on their way to modernization in favor of an undeveloped capitalist model. For our country, it was a huge historical failure in the economic and human development. Bulgaria fell more than 20 places down in the ranking of the Human Development Index. Our economy has become 70% private and much weaker, and privatization has not brought in revenue. Bulgarian society lives today with social and economic inequalities unknown in our history. Today, we are facing an energy, economic, and political crisis, and health crisis at the same time. The social, health, and education systems have fallen into a permanent crisis. About 20% of the population look for work and a better life abroad. Bulgaria, like Poland, is under pressure from European Union to shut down coal production and submit to a Green Deal that will lead to new inequalities and unemployment. Bulgaria was forced with American influence to put the project for a nuclear power plant in Belene in the freezer. Thus, we will not be able to replace the coal-fired power plants with anything in the next 20-15 years. The sale of carbon allowances and the free trade of electricity and gas have skyrocketed prices and threatened business with disaster. Borisov completed Turkish Stream in 1 year when he was on the government, while there was a power struggle in the United States, and Hungary, Serbia, and he personally won from the new pipeline. The corrupt government of GERB did not offer any prospects for solving all of these problems. It worked with several financial oligarchs and rigid public procurements. Data on corruption and money under the table were in all branches. Corruption was defended by the judiciary and the chief prosecutor. The immediate reason for the protest was an attempt by the latter to frighten the president by seizing his office from the gendarmerie. Prosecutors have...
because what we can see is only the first slide of your presentation. I'm not pretty sure if you are changing it and we are not able to see it, or are just still at the first slide. Sorry for interrupting. So we should see further slides of your presentation now. Which slide we should see now?
What? I don't understand. Excuse me.
Which part of your presentation we should see?
Excuse me. I will come to what?
Which part of your presentation we should follow?
Okay. It is first part.
Without presentation. Okay, I'm sorry for interrupting.
It is the first part, and I have maybe 5 or 7 minutes to continue.
Okay, great. Yes, yes. So thank you very much. Sorry for interrupting.
Okay. Okay. Crucial to the success of the protest was the support of the United States and its embassy. They backed the rebellion of the President Radev, who is former NATO aviation general, most active in the 3 Seas initiative. Borisov has lost credibility because of the corrupt oligarchs he works there in the Magnitsky list with on the construction for the construction of the Turkish Stream. Corruption figures were backed by the Prime Minister voice recordings and information about scandals. A factor for this loss of closeness of the former Bulgarian Prime Minister was the close connection with Erdogan. The supporting party of the Turkish minority, the Movement for Rights of Freedom, was also looking for support in the East. Borisov regime destroyed democracy as a government of institution and turned parliament into a mailbox and servant of the government. The opposition of the media were deprived of power as part of the corrupt environment. The media served the government almost as it did in the socialist era. Politicians from the People's Party in Europe defended Borisov. Young people were beaten at the protest by police. It is 10 of July 2020. In the 82nd part, in the 4th April election, Borisov lost his party majorities for the first time and was ousted. The protest party did not reach a consensus for a government, and new elections were realized on July 11, 2021. The result was the same. The old urban right-hand community of the Democratic Bulgaria Party wanted to rule on its own. The position of the party of the television showman Slavy Trifonov and his screenwriters from a private television was similar. The latter had the most votes on July 11. Many young people and Bulgarians from abroad supported them in order to destroy the status quo of old political parties. In order to form a government, they had to seek support from the Bulgarian Socialist Party, but they refused to recognize it as participant in the protest revolution. It is rumored that Slavy's party, there is such a people, has been bribed to play a destructive role. It proposed far-right government without negotiation with others and refused to put it to a vote. The third protest party, Stand Up, We're Coming, was composed of left and right-wing intellectuals from Sofia. This organization also claimed to be a mandate holder. The result of this impasse is 2 non-functioning parliaments blocking the work of the government and the impossibility to make a normal recovery and development plan and to send it in Brussels. The latter was voted 5 months late. At the same time, the energy crisis began, which hit the business and prices went up. The government appointed government has sought to seek information on corruption, but has provided no convincing evidence. Miners began protest against the closure of coal-fired power plants, which is planned for 2040. Road builders were forced by Borisov to demand unpaid funds. In this situation, the foreign mentors of the protest sought an unusual solution. In July, US President Biden congratulated Kirill Petkov, a Bulgarian businessman who had emigrated to Canada, for his work as presidential minister against corruption. It turned out he was appointed contrary to the constitution, which prohibits ministers from being citizens of other countries. It is the candidate for new Prime Minister, Kirill Petkov. The 2 presidential ministers, Kirill Petkov and Arsene Vasiliev, started a political project promising right-wing politics and left-wing measures. the main promise is to fight corruption, imprison the chiefs, and reform the judiciary. The name is The Change Keeps Going, or The Change Continues. Kirill Petkov was nominated by about 100,000 people from Facebook group. The mentor's hand became obvious. There are always more than 500,000 people in Bulgaria ready to vote for new political projects of rescues from abroad. Rumen Spetsov, a former immigrant to Dubai, who was appointed as a head of tax service, despite violating the tax law, he personally, but with a recommendation that he work well with foreign intelligence services against corruption. At present, the presidential government is dismantling the criminal symbiosis of GERB politicians, security services, prosecutors, mafia, and financial oligarchs, which is robbing Bulgarian financial and natural resources. For the third elections on November 14, which will be 2-in-1, presidential and for parliament, the expectations are that the president will be re-elected and a government with right and left ministers will be formed around this political project. The change keeps going. Borisov has nominated the independent rector of Sofia University, Professor Anastas Gergikov, a translator of Aristotle, as a presidential candidate and plans to return to power to run the Turkish minority party with the movement of rights of freedom. He even went on to ask Erdogan to activate migrant groups to create problems at the border. We expect to see if the forces and ideas of the American mentors of the anti-corruption revolution in Bulgaria will be enough to replace and to reject it our allied around Borisov. Surprises are possible if Borisov and movement of right of freedoms manage to get 50% of the vote. Some left with votes to do not support the foreign-led presidential project to change the political elite. We, the researchers in the social sciences, hope that Bulgarians will soon understand that corruption and lack of sovereignty are inherent in the development of our capitalist economy, as well as inequalities and economic imbalances. The created democratic states must be controlled by the Bulgarian citizens through effective mechanisms if we really want a change to solve the huge economic and social changes. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much for your presentation.